Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 4 of the Trout Show podcast. Thanks so much for stopping by. I am your friendly musical host, The Trout, a.k.a. Rick Troutman, to provide you entertainment from some of the great musicians out there located all over this wonderful planet of ours. Like I said, if you're new, you might want to know, what do? I interview very famous musicians. They talk about their lives and what's it like to do what they do, and also talk to independent artists coming up on their way to becoming famous. The one thing they all have in common is very simple. That is, they're very talented in what they do. So get yourself a cup of coffee, your favorite adult beverage, and sit back and get ready to listen to this new episode where I interview a Grammy-nominated artist. Coming up next, right after this message from David Smith with Edward Jones. Hey, it's the Trout. Quick question for you. When's the last time you heard from your financial advisor? Well, if you're still thinking about it, apparently it's been a long time. And when you do hear from this individual, do you get a feeling that they're more concerned about their financial wealth than yours? Well, maybe it's time to talk to an expert that's concerned about your financial possibilities. That's David Smith with Edward Jones. David has years of experience of helping people just like you. So why not give him a quick call at 469-372-1587. David's ready to sit down and talk to you about reaching your goals and your financial possibilities. That's David Smith with Edward Jones. 469-372-1587. Get a financial health checkup now with David Smith of Edward Jones. 469-372-1587. Hey everybody, it is The Trout, and welcome to a brand new season of The Trout Show. Thank you so much for stopping by. And we kick off our very first episode with a Grammy-nominated artist. Her name is Janet Robin. And Janet is part of a band called the String Revolution. Their song, Folsom Prison Blues, yeah, that one, is up for a Grammy. And Janet talks about the fact that how this song came about. It's a very iconic song, how it all got together. And they also went into Johnny Cash's old hunting cabin, which is now a studio, with the help of Johnny's son to put this song together that resulted in a nominee. But they also brought in one of the most phenomenal guitarists out there, Tommy Emmanuel, to play on it too. So Janet talks about the history of how that all came together, because sometimes, magic does happen in the studio. And they did it all in one day, which resulted in this nomination. But also Janet talks about her history of playing guitar, which has been over 50 years now, and how her teachers like Randy Rhoads, if you know anything about Ozzy Osbourne and Crazy Train, that guitar on that's Randy Rhoads. He was her teacher. And also Janet toured with Lindsey Buckingham for several years. Great story. And she's also a teacher, I might add. So she's just a roundabout great artist that does a lot of things. But the most important thing to her, of course, is the music and the song. So I think you'll like this episode if you like Johnny Cash, if you like guitar music, and especially from people as talented as Janet. So stay tuned to hear the story about the Grammy-nominated song, Folsom Prison Blues. That's next on The Trout Show. So then I started looking into you guys, and of course, everybody knows who Tommy is. Come on, if you're a guitar player, you know who Tommy is. And I immediately went to the song that you guys just finished and putting out not too long ago, Folsom Prison Blues.
Yeah.
All I can say is that must have been fun.
It was fun. It was even more than fun. It was just like kind of magic and exciting, and it was also a blessing to be at Cash Cabin, and also with John Carter Cash producing and guiding.
That whole thing. Okay, let's start at the beginning. How did that all come about? Not the fact that who decided, hey, let's pick up Folsom Prison Blues and let's redo it, and then let's call his son, and then say, hey, can we
call
record
Tommy?
It? Yeah. And then let's call Tommy, and then say, we're going to go to Tennessee, and we're going to record in Johnny Cash's son's recording studio. How did it all kind of fell into place? How did that happen?
Well, usually when things fall in place, it's because a whole bunch of other shit happened before that.
Right. Yep.
So there is a whole story as to why all of that sort of came together. First of all, the string revolution, being an instrumental guitar band, we of course have a lot of originals, but to get people's attention, we decided on the project, we decided to do some covers, and we are all of the ilk when it comes to covers, in thinking, why do the cover the way it is? Obviously it's not going to be the way it is anyway, because we have no vocals.
Yep.
So every cover we've ever done, we've changed it up quite a bit. Like, you have to do it in a way that it doesn't lose the soul of the original.
Yeah.
Yet you got to put your own thing on it.
Yeah.
And not only being guitar instrumentalists, but just what is the sound of the string revolution? Because we have a sound, kind of, the three of us come from very different backgrounds, and when we come together and arrange songs, if you come see us live, you'll be like, oh, that's Janet playing that part, oh, that's Marcus playing, oh, they can tell.
Sure.
So we had done Crazy Train last year, the Ozzy Osbourne Randy Rhoads song, because Randy was my guitar teacher growing up.
I know. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah, and so I'm leading up to, we had a guest, Steve Stevens, the great Billy Idol guitarist.
I know who that is too.
Right. And then we decided, and that did really well for us. Then we decided, let's do another one. So, and we cover so many different styles. I think being an instrumental band, you can really do that.
Yep.
So I had worked with John Carter Cash on 2 previous solo. I used to do singer-songwriter, guitarist type of stuff, and he produced 2 other records for me quite a while ago. One back in 2010, and then another one in like 2016. And I was just actually thinking of, well, what should we do next? That's totally opposite of Crazy Train, so another genre, another artist.
It wouldn't really be hard to go something completely opposite than Crazy Train.
No, and I thought about Folsom. I've always loved the song. I of course love Johnny.
Yeah.
I don't consider him to be only country. He's just an amalgam of so many genres, and I know he loved rock and roll, and he was a rebel. So I just thought, it would be really kind of badass to do Folsom Prison Blues, and the boys in the band were like, yeah, let's do that. And then of course I was like, well, we should call John Carter, first of all, to get his blessing, and then second of all, to ask him just point blank, would you like to be involved? This is your dad's song. And he's a great producer with this, like, these amazing instincts, because he grew up around really, music royalty.
Does he play himself?
He does play and he sings, but I think his forte really is just this,
producing.
Yeah, this producing instinctual, like, I don't know, he has this kind of magic thing about him. And then of course I thought, well, if he's going to sign on, let's do it at Cash Cabin. And that's where I did my previous solo.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I had flown out there already and done it there. And I knew that place, it has a vibe because it was originally Johnny's hunting cabin.
Now, where is that? Where is it in Tennessee?
It's in Henderson, which is
okay. I know where that is. Yeah.
20 minutes from Nashville.
Yeah.
And they turned it into a recording studio when he was kind of doing the American recordings with Rick Rubin, his last, like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where he covered a 9 Inch Nails song. And
is that the one where he did Hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's where he did it. Yeah. And it created such a vibe that they fully turned it into a full-on recording studio. It's still not that big. It's just like a 2-room place. But it has all of his stuff around, all of his, he's a hunter. So there's a lot of stuff.
And I did notice the things on the wall.
Yeah. There's that, but then there's like amazing photos of him and June's personal things are around.
Saw a picture of Roy Orbison.
Yeah, there's Roy. I mean, all his friends, and it's all personal stuff. And his rocking chair is there, and all of his instruments are there. I mean, so
what you're saying is his presence is there when you walk in.
His presence is 100% there.
Yeah.
And we had to do it there. We just had to. And John liked our demos. I know he was hesitant, but when I talk to him about it. That was before I sent it to him. And he's like, well, send it to me. So we sent him the demo. He's like, okay. I think he liked it too, because there were no vocals. It was really, really a new take on one of his father's classics.
And when you think about that song, and you think about, you can't hear anybody else singing it.
No, not really.
I mean, anybody else covers it, it sounds like they're trying to sound like Johnny Cash.
Yeah, you can't.
Which doesn't work.
No.
So when you do it, like you said, when you do it that way, that's a completely thing. Takes that out of the mix.
Well, that takes it out right away. But you still want to have that melody there. And even when we cover songs, again, like I said, you gotta still have the soul. So the melody is so catchy and so cool, the phrasing and everything. So yeah, John signed on. He said, I want to be a part of this. I want you guys to come here. Let's do it here. And then so we, that's what happened. And then literally like a few days before, we were thinking about having another guest on it. And we were like, maybe we should have another guest like we did for Crazy Train.
Mm-hmm.
Who should we have? And I mean, I was already in Nashville doing a rock and roll fantasy camp, which I mentor at a lot. And I was thinking of people, well, it'd be a lot easier if we had somebody who lived in Nashville who could actually come to the cabin, rather than often what we would do is finish the recording, take it home, send it out to somebody's manager.
Tracks,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, there's so many great musicians that live in Nashville. And I was like, wait,
just a few.
Tommy Emmanuel, who I opened for, speaking of the Czech Republic, like 10 years ago, I opened for him in Prague. And I was like, Tommy lives in Nashville, and I wonder if he would remember me, number one, and number two, more importantly, would he be interested in this? And number three, he's never home. He is never.
He tours all the time.
Yeah, he is never home. So I looked on his website, and there was no tour date. There was a bunch of other dates, but nothing on the date that we were going in on. We had one date at Cash Cabin. We did this in one day.
One day. Wow.
One very long day. And our manager called his manager, and we sent the demo, and Tommy, wrote back as, I'm home, and I would love to do this. I've never been to Cash Cabin. I've never met John Carter. Who is the String Revolution? They sound cool. And then, when he got to the cabin, I was like, I opened for you like a million years ago. Oh yeah, he does remember a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we had the track done already by the time he arrived. It wasn't like all completely worked out, but the skeleton was pretty good there. And he laid down a few different takes, and he stayed for a few hours, and we had a great time. And then he left, and that was that.
Yeah. He
there
came, he saw, he did, he's gone.
That's my long-winded answer there. But yeah, you can see like the trajectory, of what led up to that one day of recording there.
Now,
and the fact that Tommy
when was that recorded originally?
I'm sorry?
When was that recorded?
January 28th, I think.
Okay, so it's almost a year old.
Almost a year
Because
old.
I mean, I know about the record, how it takes everything so long to get everything done.
Oh yeah, I mean, we got his tracks, and then we had to do some editing and mixing, and mastering, and all that takes. And then we had to do a video, which, if you watch the song on YouTube, that video is from a friend of mine who shot it on her iPhone.
It's good. It works.
We really wanted to release it, and it's very expensive to do a big production of a music video. So we were thinking, why don't we just give people a kind of bird's eye view, not dog's eye, bird's eye view of what went on in the studio. And we used my friend's video, and a lot of it matched up to exactly what he was playing, because she was able to record him when he was laying down.
Oh yeah, so you could sync it. Because there was some sync. Yeah. You can't. Let me tell you something from a guy that sees these all the time.
Yeah.
You can't tell it. I mean, you really can't. I mean, and it has that not homemade look. It has that I was there look.
Grainy.
And I'm there. I really kind of, because really, we all know that's been the studio. If you record what you did, most people would be yawning because you'd be sitting there because they sit, because of the
Yeah, it's
hours that go by.
hours of sitting.
You were like sitting there, can we have lunch yet? And you're
Right.
like, okay, so you got to condense that down to whatever 3 minutes or 4 minutes, whatever it is,
Yeah.
which is really, I think that's what people want to see. I mean, I'm a musician. I wanted to see it. You want to see where it was recorded.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, it looks great. It comes across fine.
I think it shows the song. It shows how we worked together.
Yeah.
And the vibe of the studio, like you said, you can see all the things in there. There were so many more things that happened though. Like, John Carter said, you want to play my dad's, 1932, 19,
No,
whatever.
as a Martin, I assume. Yeah.
Yeah. Martin H, and
Yeah.
Marcus in the band is like, yeah, sure. And then, we finished around 9 p.m. John was already gone, and Trey, our amazing engineer, he's like, I want to show you another guitar. It's really cool. It's Luther Perkins, 1952 Squire. Telly. And
that's what you have. Is that what you're holding in the video?
No, it looks like.
I guess not, because it had too many pickups on it.
No, this is a Strat. The Squire is more like a Squire Telly.
Okay, but I think there was one picture because I said you got all these acoustic guitars, and all of a sudden you're holding a Telly.
Yeah, I have my Telly in the other room.
Oh, okay.
My Telly Butterscotch, 52 reissues, my main axe when I'm playing electric. Although I do have 2 Les Pauls. But yeah, so Trey brings out this beautiful Squire Telly, and he's like, this is Luther Perkins, guitar. And he played this guitar in the original recording of Folsom. And we're like, wait, what? and then I had this idea because we kind of mimicked this one lick down.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Everything's acoustic on the track, but could we do that lick on this guitar? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, we were going to close up and you're going to go home. He's like, no, take off your coats. I'm setting up all the mics. He gets out this amazing old Fender, tattered, piece of, it's not a piece of crap, but it looks like it's been through a tornado.
Yeah.
Brings that out and, some amazing mics. And Robert, our other band member, he plays the lick on the recording, and we both play it live, but on the recording, he plays it. And I was like, you got to now double that with Luther's guitar, know? And we sat there and recorded that, in the very last minute, right before we left. And that's on the track. And, there's so many like swaths of magic and,
Well, you know what that is? I think to me,
recording.
When I heard it, of course, when it first starts, you're like, okay, what the hell's going on here?
I know. You're like, what is this song?
Okay. I know eventually they're going to get to the melody line sooner or later.
Right.
And you got all the octave stuff going on, the string pop and all that stuff.
Right.
And then this little ditty comes in, and they're like, okay, the song's done now. You got the part in there. Do you have to go through a bunch of management people? If he says he wants to do it, then he has to go to his people and his label and all that nonsense. Do you have to get all that done before you can release it?
Well, I mean, I could have gotten to him personally in other ways because I know people who know him very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know he would remember my name. But the professional way is to actually management to management.
Sure.
And he only has one guy that manages him in Nashville. And, Miles Copeland and John Bevilacqua are our managers. And, John just reached out to Brian, his manager. And
they all, I assume they all kind of know each other or know who they are.
Well, so they know of each other.
Yeah.
And he explained to him what was going on. And, this isn't a big budget. We're not going to turn around and pay him $20,000 or some crazy shit like that. And I think Brian was maybe, not sure that Tommy would be interested, but he always passes things on to Tommy. That's a good manager right there.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, right there. That's a good manager. Don't, even if you think maybe this isn't worth it or something, you still pass it on. And so that's what he did. He passed it on. And Tommy was like, this is cool. And like I said, he'd never been to Cash Cabin. He lives in Nashville. He never met John Carter. I know he knows how to play Folsom because I saw a video of him playing it with a bunch of other guys. And they were really just jamming, playing it,
Right.
It's totally different than our arrangement. So I knew he knew the song. And then I thought he'd be perfect to play the melody. Perfect. And in fact, we didn't really say that when he walked in the studio. I mean, he's like, do you have something in mind? And you never really want to do that with a guest like him, especially.
No.
You just, here's the track. What would you like to do?
Yeah.
We kind of hear you playing the melody. We left it open. I mean, we can play the melody, but you're here.
You're here.
Yeah. So, the best way I think to capture somebody's best performance is to let them do what they do.
Yeah.
Just let them do their thing. Right.
You have absolutely no concept what the other person's going to put in there. And that's what makes the magic to me. And
you have to allow them to do that too, because you may think you know what you want.
Well, that's true too.
To correct you, it might be like you have an idea of what you think you want.
That's a very, very good description of it. Yeah, because you hear something and then somebody else comes in and goes, I never thought of that. Of course not.
Yeah, because we're not that person, so you can't just say, play this way, that way. I mean, maybe if you're in an orchestra or it's a situation like that, hired session player, but that's not what we were going for. Tommy does Tommy. That's what he does.
That's why he's who he is.
That's why who he is. And we wanted that on the track. And we wanted him to feel how different our arrangement was. And I think he liked that too, because when you see him live, he changes up his covers as well.
Well, when you're on tour as much as he is, and a lot of people I interview are on tour a lot, you get tired of doing the same thing all the time.
Of course, yeah.
Glenn John's a great producer. He did an album a few years ago with Eric Clapton. He says Eric Clapton never plays the same lead part the same. Yeah. He plays something that sounds like it, but he never repeats the same thing, which he could.
Which is great, because that also keeps it fresh, not only for the player, the artist, but also for the audience.
Well, the player, we get tired of it.
We do. Expanding it is more fun, isn't it?
I think about the Rolling Stones on tour again, and thinking about some of my favorite riffs that they did, like Monkey Man and things like that. And they're just iconic. And you're like, well, okay, he can't change that up.
Right.
It's just part of the song. I want to go back to kind of at the beginning of your beginning. Yeah. So the year you were born, at least what Wikipedia says, and we know they're always right. That was the year I basically started playing guitar. 1960s. The year you were born. And I started when I was 12, which is actually a year before that. And so when you start, and I read everybody's bios and try to find out as much as I can about them. But you were in a situation where you came out, which was all boys.
Yeah, pretty much. In fact,
even as you get older, the year you were born, and even later, it's all, get into the hair time and all that stuff.
Right. Hair metal. Yeah.
And, and I know that you were probably, from the very moment that you picked up a guitar, you had it or realized it. Somebody told you along the way that you had it. What did your parents think about
my parents were so supportive and so amazing. I lost my dad a couple of years ago, but my mom is still here, and just the two that I was, the only girl, the youngest, two older brothers, and I was in so much competition with them. It was like I wanted to be them. I wanted to do things they did, and when you're young, you're trying to find out, things that make you feel cool.
Yep.
I couldn't play football with them. I wasn't into sports anyway. And then, I tried dancing and karate. All of it was just a big fat zero for me. My brother Steve started taking guitar lessons, and my mom started it as well. And I was surprised that my mom was doing it, because of course all of my visions of people playing guitar were men, unless you were Joni Mitchell or Bonnie Raitt or something. But I didn't really know that much about them at that young age. I did know about Joni though, because my mom had her record. So she started. Yeah, that was the song she wanted to learn, was "Bows and Flows of the."
Oh yeah. Yeah.
she loved that song. So I thought, well, my mom wants to take, I'm going to take, and I was really young. I think I was 5, and she took me to the,
Oh, wow. That's really
guitar
young.
place. And he's like, you're too young. Your hands are too small, come back in a year. And I did. I came back in a year, and I started playing, sort of folk and classical stuff on acoustic. My brother was playing. My mom had since left playing guitar.
Did it get you a standard size, or did it get you a smaller size to
a
play?
standard fat old nylon string neck, and I still have small ass.
I was going to say, and the strings are that far off.
Yeah, I mean but I was not uncomfortable with it, and there was something about the touch of the strings and the fact that there were multiple strings. The the multitasking of it. There's something I liked about it. And it was just the two hands. And also I wasn't in a class with a bunch of other people, which was really like terrifying for me, with karate and sports.
Oh yeah, there was other
dancing.
people there, sure.
Yeah. So it was just like this solo thing that I could hide away in my room and just, practice alone. And, and that was really, really great for me. It became my best friend. I started to get really good at it and young. And I was surpassing my brother, and he wanted to take electric guitar, and then I wanted to do it, of course. And then we found Randy Rhoads. My mom got a referral somehow, and I started on electric. And then I was really like, I became obsessed with guitar, especially after going to lessons with him, because going to lessons with him every week was like basically having a private recital with Mozart.
How old was he at the time?
He was in Quiet Riot at the time.
He wasn't in Quiet Riot when he was, okay.
He was very young, 20 or so, 20 something.
So I was going to ask you, and what you've just answered for me.
Yeah.
You knew at that age he was already a phenomenal guitarist.
Oh my God, yeah. We didn't know he was going to get that gig with Ozzy or anything like that. But he was so special. I'd never seen anybody play like that in front of my eyes. So much so I was bringing my neighbors from the neighborhood, my friends. I was like, you got to come to my lesson. My cousin, everybody, they just sit there.
Do you want us to see you play? No, I want to see my teacher play. Screw me. Let's watch him.
Yeah. And I think also what was amazing about him is he had this quiet, subtle humbleness about him, but also was a strong, like you got to practice. And he also didn't treat me like, I want this to come out right. He didn't treat me like a girl.
He treated you like another guitar player.
Correct. And that.
He didn't care whether you're a girl or not.
No. And he didn't care. I was 9 at the time. And that changed my whole self-esteem. I mean, personally, just as a young girl, that changed the whole thing for me, because I was questioning. I mean, it's really hard to explain. You're like, you don't see a lot. I did see Nancy Wilson up there on the poster with Anne, and I was like, she's a badass. I didn't say that, but I was.
You thought
like,
it,
I was like, okay, well, there's one. And then I sort of knew about the Runaways, but there wasn't a lot of media about them. My brothers didn't have, their posters up. They were like underground, so I didn't really know about them. It was really only Nancy, and then the other ladies were playing acoustic, which I still enjoyed playing, but of course my time with Randy was only electric.
I'm trying to think when they first came out.
Who?
Heart.
Oh, it was 70 something.
Was Barracuda in the 70s? I guess it was late 70s. Oh wow.
Yeah. And, my brother was, playing their records all the time. And I didn't know who was playing what. I mean, as it turns out, Nancy, she's an amazing guitar player.
Yeah, she is.
An amazing acoustic guitar player, but she's not a lead guitar player.
No.
And I didn't know that. Okay. It didn't matter whether I didn't know or, whatever. I just saw a woman up there with a guitar, looking like a badass rock musician. That was my only, role model. But Randy, like I said, he could really care less. And he pushed me, to practice, and not in a bad way, just to inspire me. And, I was obsessed, and he was so amazing. I just was like, my God, I want to be this good, or in some way. But he would always say, don't try to play like me.
No.
Learn from me. I'll show you these things, and then you do your thing.
Yep.
That's a
I had
good
a
teacher.
friend of mine back in the 80s in a band I was in. This was obviously before YouTube and all that. And I've always played lead guitar. And
Yeah.
they tell me what they want to do. And I didn't want to sit there and pick it out and all that stuff. So I took it to a friend of mine as a teacher. And this was the time that Guns N' Roses was really hot.
Yeah, 88.
Sweet Child of Mine and all that stuff.
Yeah, 89.
And I asked him one time, I said, I wanted to learn how to tap. I said, just show me how to do it, And I said something about learning how to use other things. He said, don't do what other people do. Pick up, learn from them, but do your own thing.
That's right. Yeah.
And I understand what you mean. And just like you said, and it's because then you become, you're playing Stevie Ray.
No, then you're just
Randy Rhoads.
Yeah, you're mimicking, other people. I do have to say that Randy, like his the first year of lessons with him were all blues stuff. And people don't know that about him.
That's kind of interesting.
My first song I ever learned full song was Johnny Be Good.
Do you remember what key it was in?
A.
Of course.
Which it isn't. It's in
That's in B. Is it A flat? I don't remember.
It's A flat or something. Yeah. But all those riffs, and because of course all those riffs are in Zeppelin and ACD, all the other things. But he was adamant with his students about learning blues stuff. He's like, if you don't know blues riffs, some blues tunes, some just the da 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 da, that stuff, you cannot be a guitar player. You cannot be a good guitar player. And so people don't think that about Randy. They just look at him and they're like neoclassical metal. No, that's not everything about him. And in fact, he was going to leave Ozzy's band and go back to UCLA to get his master's degree or college degree in classical guitar. That's what he was going to do and go back.
What's funny is when you see people, like one time I saw Alex Lifeson playing and he wasn't playing Rush stuff and he was playing something else. And I'm like, well, that's kind of different. I mean, you expect them not to be you expect all the time they're going to be doing some Rush song. And it's like, no, they do stuff all the time and they have to start out. That's why I started. Of course, I was the Beatles. That's when all this started with me.
Oh, I love the Beatles. I
still remember. How am I going to ever play an F chord? I can't. Those two fingers. I can't push them down. How does that happen? And then I really was turned on by the Stones, but not so much by their music, but all the blues stuff they did.
Yeah.
And that's how I heard about Howlin' Wolf and all those things like that. And that kind of got me into it. And then I kind of got into it a lot. The one thing I think missing now in guitar players, a lot of them, is they just don't know the history of guitar music.
No, and I actually, it's funny you bring that up because I actually tell my students that, especially the young ones. I tell them everything comes from post-slavery blues.
Yeah.
You got to know. And I introduce them to some of these players, some more known than others. But I'm actually working on another project that is all blues. It's taking very, very old recordings from the early 1900s and through like 1940, I think is the latest one. And like the master recordings, of which I secured the rights for. And I am putting new instrumentation over it. Now, some people I know they're going to be like, blasphemy, they're going to be like, oh my God. Yeah. This white Jewish girl, what is she doing?
It's true, though. It's true.
Yeah, it's like, but
you missed a note in that song.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the String Revolution. I changed it up, but I put a new a new stamp on it. I didn't turn it into like an EDM dance track. I didn't do that. I just updated it. I'm playing all the instruments myself, and I really kept it rustic. Like, I don't have drums here. I can't fit drums here in my studio. So I took like a pillow, like one of those pillows there.
Yeah.
I close mic'd it and I hit it, with
just to give you the beat.
Yeah. And that sort of old sound, like I close mic'd it. So I'm working.
Yeah. Because the recordings sucked back then. They were terrible. And,
they did.
Because they were all live.
Right. They were all with one mic,
Yeah, one mic.
They're all out of tune, and they're all out of time. I had to actually learn the track, to play to it the way that it ebbs and flows. So I have about 15 tracks of those done.
What are you going to do with them? So it's
called Blues Renewed. It's an actual project. I'm calling it Blues Renewed,
Oh,
Volume
man.
1, Volume 2, and I'm going to release it.
That's great.
You know, I'm not sure when, but it's pretty much ready to go. I think I'm going to remaster it, but I know I'm probably going to get a lot of shit from it.
It doesn't matter, Jen. It
You
doesn't
know,
matter. It's
to be
what you
honest with
love.
you, for the African American blues community and musicians I've played it for, they think it's great. It's the white folks.
Oh, it's the white folks.
It's the white folks that are like, what are you doing? These people
Yeah.
didn't make any money, you know, that nobody knows who they are. And I was like, I understand that. And that's terrible what happened. But my job is to introduce this music in a somewhat more updated way to educate people as to where rock and roll came from. And specifically the tracks I chose are guitar vocal, specifically guitar rock and roll guitar.
Yeah.
Including finger style and, you know, riffs. And you can hear in some of these songs, like, oh, that's an AC/DC, that riff, you know, it's right. But this is a 1924, you know, recording. So
it was funny, years ago, I was asked to play in a church band here in the Dallas area. And they were playing, and it was a great band. The first time I heard them, told my wife, I said, there's like 5 people out there that are professional. Those are not your typical church people.
Yeah.
So they said, can you come in and play lead? And I said, yeah. And I didn't really know. I grew up Southern Baptist. That's why I'm so screwed up in the brain. But so
we're all screwed up.
So, you know, I knew the old rugged cross. So I started playing this music, and they said, how come you can pick this up so fast? I said, because that's a Pete Townsend riff. That's a Beatles riff.
Right. It's all been
and I said, it's that. And, you know, mention people. When I was a kid, I used to buy Segovia records.
Oh, amazing.
Because I would sit there and go, how does one guy do that? That's not right. He sounds like 3 people playing. That's just not right. And you talk to some younger players and say, who's Segovia? They don't even know. They don't even know who the people are that play in the bands that are famous.
No, they don't. They don't know. And, you know, as a guitarist and as a teacher and educator, I want even my older students, I want everybody to know where the roots of rock and roll are from, and specifically with guitar, because it is an African American invention, and it comes from America solely. And this is where it's from, and these are the people that made it happen. And then it got, you know, transformed in, you know, lots of different ways, and you know, here we have rock music now. But you know,
and the sad thing for me is, I don't use a lot of pedals. I never have been. I used a rack mount for a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I see people that have 30 pedals on the floor and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I tend to like people, the aforementioned Clapton, who use he doesn't do much. You know, he doesn't have to. He sounds like Eric Clapton every time he plays. But he doesn't have a lot of stuff. Pete Townsend, when they were touring years ago, he had like a Boss overdrive pedal on a couple of songs. That was it. You're like, and now everybody has to have this vast array of stuff.
Well, I think it depends on the music. Sometimes.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about metal. I mean, rock stuff. You know, that's.
No, I don't have very many pedals either. I'm pretty much a conventionalist when it comes to that. Electric and acoustic, I have 2 separate pedal boards for each. You know.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
In the String Revolution, it's only acoustic, but. And also for traveling, you got to make it travel friendly, and it's so hard to tour with gear, and everything costs so much money.
I was doing a thing this year, and I'm going to continue to do it next year too, is more women that play guitar. Most of them, a lot of them are blues women.
God bless you, Rick.
Well, but I mean, you know, people don't know who they are.
You know, it's a blessing and a curse in some ways. With my particular career, sometimes it helped because it you know, it was a niche. And for example, my work with Lindsey on Buckingham, he was specifically looking for women guitarists. And the reason why is because he wanted guitar players who could sing. He wanted background vocalists, and he wanted to hear women's voices. But he's like, if I'm going to hear those, you know, women, female vocals, I want them to also play. So see, sometimes it was very helpful to be in a niche. Other times it was like, you know, there are these lists, and I know I have quotes on my website and all that, you know, female guitars. I mean, So some press sometimes helps too. It gives you, more recognizability, if that's a word. But you're right. It's like when you listen to a recording, unless you see a photo or a video of that person playing, you have absolutely no idea if it's a male or a female playing.
No.
So,
and you were talking about Nancy.
yeah.
I saw her on, I never really thought about it. I knew she was a guitar player, but then I saw her on, what's his face's show? I can't think of his name now. And he said, would you play a little something? So she played the beginning of,
Crazy on You.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's amazing.
And she was sitting there playing, and I went, oh my God, she's really good.
She's really good.
And I don't look at it from the standpoint she's been playing this for 40 years. She's really good guitar player. I got into it. Yeah. I wanted to get more women because since a blues person, there's a lot of blues women, and I kind of lend myself to women that play bass, because that's really way out there.
There's several really good women bass players though.
And I always want to go, how would you first off, you play guitar, but you play bass, and it just intrigues me a lot. Yeah. In your situation, it didn't take me very long, and I look at your bio and I listen to you. How long does it take me to figure out that you're really good at what you do? And to me, this is the part that probably most people wouldn't understand when you recorded. I would bet, I wasn't there, but I bet you there's no egos in that room.
Oh, with the string revolution?
Yeah. I mean, when you're doing Tommy, you're sitting there with Tommy, you're going, okay, I got to, but that's my point when you said you're having fun.
There's no room anyway for that.
No, because you play different than he does, and she plays different than that person. And it's like you're only good at what you do.
No, you can't really have that in any art when you're creating with a group of people.
No.
And you have to always serve the song. Like that's become my mantra.
That's a good thing. Serve the song.
Serve the song, because the song will tell you what it needs. It's not about what you're going to play or how fast you're going to play, or it's your solo, or that's what, it's like, what is going to make the song sound the best, the piece of art that you're trying to create. And that's especially important in an ensemble situation. If you're doing your own solo thing, do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Sorry for my language, but do whatever you want. But when you're in an ensemble, you really have to be careful about pulling you out of it. And I could tell, we just wanted Tommy to do his thing. We had already put our things down, our parts.
Right.
And it was time for him to do it. And we were just like, go, Tommy, go. Right? go, and we
so
also wanted to be, one more thing, we wanted to be very coherent and, what's the word? Respectful to John Carter, because it's his dad, number one. Dad. It's a father. And then number two, the legacy and this very famous song. It wasn't like some B-side song that nobody ever heard of. So,
no, everybody knows the song.
Yeah.
So what is the Grammy up for this song?
It is in the arrangement category, which is where it should be. Yeah. It is up for best arrangement, instrumental or a cappella, because there are some like the nominees. There's 5 of us, and there is one nominee it's all a cappella, a version of an old Christmas song. I can't remember the name. How high is he, or he is so high?
Oh, a Christian song.
Yeah, but
Bible song. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a famous one that I had heard of. But all the nominees, I must say, the company we're in is. But let's just say my mom thinks I have a real job now. There's like an Academy Award winner on there, a 5-time Grammy nominee or winner. All these people, and there's Folsom Prison Blues and the Sky Corner, we're just like the little train that could, So the honor of just having a nomination is already was.
Has it changed when did the nominations come out?
They came out November 8th.
Okay, so they've been out for a while.
Yeah,
has it changed anything in your life yet?
I think it's just a personal thing. but I mean, there's a lot of, it wasn't like a goal, like a specific goal, you know. It was something I always thought about, you know, like, oh, that'd be kind of cool, you know, purely for the fact that in the Recording Academy, it is actual peers, you know, working musicians that vote for you. So, and it's actually very hard to get, you know, to become a voting member. So I respect that. But I mean, you know, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, but I mean, should art be a competition? I mean, probably not. You know, I mean,
well, they have so many now. I mean, I've lost track of how many. Should we even have the Oscars?
I mean, I know Robert Redford doesn't attend. He doesn't like competing against fellow artists. I don't really know all that. I tried to put that out of my head and just be like, you know what? This is a great honor. I appreciate my peers taking the time, number one, to listen to the track. Just forget about voting or whatever. Just listening. I mean, it's so hard right now, you know. There's no more CDs. Everything's online. Everything's streaming. You know, we didn't tour for like 3 years because of the pandemic. I mean, just to get people to sit down and listen to our songs of a band that is not that well known, I was really grateful for that. And I really liked the process of listening to other people's submissions. Many of them I would have never heard of these people. I think with the advent of, you know, the internet and streaming and MP3s and all that, I mean, here's the thing, you know, the ability to release your own music, to tour on your own, to promote yourself on your own. I didn't grow up in that. I grew up, it was all about the record deal. If you got a record deal, you know, that was it. But that's not the case anymore. So that's a really cool thing. That's a great thing. And like I said, there's a lot of artists that, you know, we probably wouldn't know about or get to listen to had it not been for streaming and DIY indie artists and stuff like that. So that's the good thing. But the bad thing is, some people shouldn't be releasing music, maybe. No. And then, you know, there's just so much of it. So I think, to answer your question in another long-winded way, because clearly I like to talk.
Hey, you're a guitar player. What else?
Yeah, right. Or I like to hear myself talk. I mean, has it changed me personally? Maybe in some ways. I mean, I don't want to take it too personal, but on the other hand, I appreciate the validation. I really do. I've played 51 years.
You've been playing a long time.
My ass off in this career, and
you've had a great career.
Thank you. And
at least on paper, it looks good. I don't know about the rest of them.
I mean, there's been
you've played with so many different people.
Written
music for different things. You did sync licensing. You've done everything.
Yeah, different. I tried the singing solo thing. I've toured. And I think that makes you, you know, a whole artist, and makes you appreciate when you do get some kind of recognition like that.
What's your favorite though? What's your favorite thing to do? Music wise.
The
genre.
Oh, well, my favorite thing to do, first of all, is to perform live, period.
Oh, yeah.
End of story with that. Because I am definitely a live performer. But genre, oh my gosh, you know, I'm a 70s girl. I grew up with all of that stuff. Zeppelin, you know, Heart, Deep Purple. I love all that classic rock. On the same coin, I was obsessed with Beatles. I had every single Beatles record. And if you ask me what my favorite record is, like, of all time, it would be Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
And you know, you don't fit into the normal, because normally you can tell people's age by which Beatles album they like the best.
All right. Well, my mom bought that record, and I have the original one that she bought when
I was in high school, I think, when that came out, or no, I think it was in high school, because when it came out. And people don't know, that didn't live then, how different it was, because they controlled the music industry. I mean, it was like, and I don't think they sat around and thought about it. I don't think they sat around and told you to do this. No, I don't think that happened. I think they just wrote.
Yeah.
And then when the movie came out a couple of years ago about them recording, working together and like sitting down, okay, we'll do this, we'll do that. And just like every other band in the world, they got sick of each other.
I mean, you know, it's like with your family, you can just move away. Yeah. But, you know, with a band, it's tough because you're involved in so many different ways.
And so when you listen to them, I've told this story many times. When Abbey Road came out, I listened to it for mistakes. I did. I mean, I'd go, okay, I'm going to listen. There's got to be something here.
Right.
There's a mistake.
There's got to be a wrong note.
There's a note. And I listened to that thing over, and of course, it was an album,
Mm.
you know, and I put the headphones on it on my parents' Magnavox stereo.
Yeah.
And listened to it over and over again. Of course, we all were living through the part where Paul died. You know, he was dead in 1972, whatever. Paul's dead.
He's because, you know, he's walking barefoot.
That's right.
That was supposed to be the clue there. But no, I was obsessed with everything Beatles. I had their, you know.
I did see where you did Here Comes the Sun.
Right.
I saw that.
Totally different.
And you capoed it like it should be. But did you play it? You didn't play it on 12 string though, did you? You played it on 6. You played the lead part on the melody line on the 6 string, which is you play a Taylor, don't you?
I play Taylor, yeah. It's a DCSM Taylor, Dan Crary signature model. They don't make it anymore. But that's a funny story too. Here Comes the Sun. Another like great validation for me was doing that song, and somehow it got to George Harrison's estate, who Donnie Harrison runs. So Donnie runs that whole thing. Donnie.
Yeah, I got you.
I call him Donnie because I think but it's DH.
It looks like Donnie. Yes, it does.
Yeah. So they tweeted it out.
Are you kidding me?
I am not. And I was like, oh my God, because you could ask me. I have a lot of favorite guitar players, but George is absolutely wonderful.
He was unique, very unique.
Very unique. And I was like, oh my God, wow, that was amazing. And then I was at a special event out here for something where he was speaking, and I went to it, and I was just like, okay, this is my chance.
You got to go and say hi.
I got to go up and say, hey, you know who I am. And I did that kind of instrumental version, you know, where I bastardized your father's song, you know, by playing it like, you know, really fast and changing. I changed so much on that, you know. And he's like, oh, you're the one that we tweeted out the video of. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God, he remembers me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was great. I would take all the little wins. I'll take.
You know what? Look, that's a validation. And I think what we have to do as performers, we have to be validated somewhere along the line.
We do. But, you know, my mom told me I have imposter syndrome.
I have been told that myself.
You know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
We're never as good. We don't think we're as good as we are.
Yeah.
You know, you're really, and it's amazing to me how many musicians I've talked to, and I've talked to people like Walter Trout. I've talked to some very famous people. They still don't think they're that good. I mean, you know, you're talking to them, and I'll say, but remember, you don't suck. Yeah. The reason why, the reason why you are what you are is because you don't suck. You're really good at what you do. But I also think, but I'll just tell you this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think that keeps us centered if we have that.
100%. And I think my parents helped me with that. Back to my parents supporting me, helped me stay grounded, appreciate lots of things. But clearly, I think if you're an artist, you're never good enough. Are you? It's not about being good enough. It's just that there's always something different you can do. So there's always this feeling of some kind of inadequacy, like, oh, I should try this, I should try that, I should, and that's exactly what you want. You always want to be curious if you want to continue to be a good artist. Also, that keeps it fun and interesting, you know.
Yeah, because we never stop learning. I mean, Les Paul was the one that said, the guitar is I forgot, I just read it the other day. He said, you can't beat it. It's always going to be ahead of you. You'll never learn it all. No. And I said, that's the part I like about it.
Me too.
What's it like to be a teacher? See, I used to be asked to do it. I don't have the personality for it. I don't
think every musician or artist or sports person or whatever has the
And you do the rock and roll fantasy camp, but then you do private lessons too? Yes. You do that? Yeah. Okay. And you live in LA? Where do you live? I don't even know where you live.
I live in LA. I was born and raised here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I had the greatest teacher in life. So Randy was an amazing teacher. So, and an amazing player. So it can be done. And I think teaching is what everybody should do, no matter what they do in life. That's what we are here to do. Just like we are here to serve the song, we are also here to teach each other.
Right.
Okay. This isn't a religious statement.
No.
This is just a fact.
Yep.
So I know the guitar. I don't know everything about the guitar. I don't read music.
I don't either. I can, but it takes me a week to read it.
But I know the guitar. I know how to play. And if I can share that inspiration and that passion and joy with somebody else who also wants to kind of have it too, come on down. You got to pay me for it. You got to pay me for it, but come on down.
Well, that's it for this time on The Trout Show. Thanks so much for stopping by. A very big thank you to my guest today, Janet Robin, for taking time out of her schedule to visit with me and talk about Folsom Prison Blues and her life as a musician. For more information about Janet, please visit her website at janetrobin, ROBIN.com. For more information about The String Revolution, it is thestringrevolution.com. We wish her and her band all the success in the upcoming Grammys. And again, once again, to our supporter, David Smith with Edward Jones, thank you, David, for continuing to support our show. And up next, what's it like to be a top 5 finisher at American Idol? You'll find out on the next episode of The Trout Show, coming soon to your favorite station. Until then, remember, it's only rock and roll, but I love it. See ya.